to the Jungle Room and the sessions, you were there 5 or 6 days. So how many days did you spend there? And it must have been pretty crowded in that room with so many musicians.
It was very crowded. You know, in a normal recording studio too, you have different rooms, you know, for different instruments and for the vocalist. The vocal booth is a separate room, and then the drums are usually in a closed-in area or a room to itself, and then your guitar amps will be in special places, you know, with big baffling sound baffles, you know, in front of the guitar amps, so that all the instruments don't bleed into each other, you know, in the mic. Because when they record, you want to have as much separation between each instrument and each voice that you can possibly have, so that when you go to mix, you have more control over each part, you know, and you can really make a beautiful record that way. But in the Jungle Room, you know, just everything was all crammed in there. There was a couple of small separators between a couple of the guitar amps, and I think there was a little sound thing just around the front of the drums, but everything else is just open in the room. And you know, you go back and listen to those records, and you wonder how in the world did they turn out as well as they did, because in that situation, all the instruments would be bleeding into everybody else's mic. You know, the vocal mics would be picking up the drums or the guitars, and vice versa. You know, that you would just think it would just be a roaring wall of sound. But those records turned out great, man. They just, and I'll never forget the first song I was part of. And this is kind of unique too. Elvis came down on my first night of recording, and "Hurt" was the first song that he recorded that night.
Amazing.
And I'll never forget. He only sang that song like twice. Normally in a studio, you know, you sing the song over and over, and you know, you could sing it 10 or 20 times, you know, before you figure you've done your best or whatever. And he literally sang that song twice, and one of those takes, you know, was the record. It just blew me away. And the rest of the songs, it wasn't like he struggled and you know, would have to stop and, you know, no, let's go back. And he was well prepared with those songs. He just sang through them, you know, top to bottom. And then you know, if he wasn't happy, he would go back and sing it again, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times, or if that many, or he would do it for the backup singers. Of course, if we had made any mistakes or those kind of things, we could always go in the studio, you know, here in Nashville and redo anything that we needed to do. But we never got a call to do that. They just took them in the studio here in Nashville, and they made great records out of all the recordings.
Did he warm up? Normally, a singer will warm up before he has to go and record a song. His voice, you know. Do you remember if Elvis was warming up his voice before going and singing?
If he was, I didn't hear it, you know. And Graceland, if you've been in there, you know that house is not that big. If he had been, we were standing, or our place where we were recording was kind of right at the bottom of the steps. And if he had been warming up upstairs, we would have heard it. But he didn't, you know, and that's the amazing thing about "Hurt," because you know how that song starts. I'm so hurt. I mean, just, you know, at full volume and full voice, and he just nailed it. You know, like he'd been singing on it all day. He could have been, but it really got my attention when he started out so strong like that.
How was Elvis? If you should describe him as a singer, how would you describe him as a singer?
He was a stylist. He could take any song and just about any style of music and make an Elvis song out of it. You know, you no longer thought of it, well, that song is a remake of so and so, or you know, I remember somebody else singing that song. And whenever he took a song and recorded it or sang it on stage, it became an Elvis song. That's what I mean by a stylist. You know, people try to copy him, and some do copy him pretty well, but there's nobody like him. I never heard him sing off pitch. He sang hard. If you notice him on stage, you know, I mean, when he's doing his moves and all that stuff, he's not only is he moving like that, but he's singing really hard. So to have that kind of control over your voice and your body, and you know, it was amazing. It's not everybody can do that. You know, a lot of these singers these days, you see them on TV and they have all these dance routines. Well, very few, and they have a microphone and they look like they're singing, but most of them are just lip singing. They're singing to a track because they can't do all those dance moves and do the proper breathing and be able to sing. They just can't do it. But you know, Elvis never did anything like that. He was full on and live, and his voice he had an amazing range with his highs and then his lows, and he was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You know, I don't think there'll ever be another one like him. I mean, there's some great singers out there, of course, but the image that he had, his image, his look. I mean, my Lord, what else do you need?